Well, good morning, everybody. Breaking news. It's unbelievable. Wow, believable. It's Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau. So, for the life of Canada in its entirety, for many decades, Energy East, Northern Gateway Pipeline. That's a pipeline from Alberta to British Columbia, right to the coast, to deep sea access, as well as Energy East to run right across all the way through to Atlantic Canada, providing the energy needs for all Canadians at a substantially lower rate. What's happened with that? For 5 decades, experts, engineers, economists have said this is the path to energy independence, to remove all kinds of energy poverty. Time and time again. From Ontario east, they cut off Alberta, any interprovincial trade whatsoever, east to west, they remove it entirely. They buy from the United States, which uses 40% of Alberta's discounted oil, process it, send it back to Eastern Canada, where they pay a substantial markup. This has been going on and on and on. That's not the end of the tail of the tape here. You can look at the Russian, Saudi Arabia, Damascus, the list goes on of all the countries that Canada imports oil from. In fact, when you cross to Quebec, all the way through the Atlantic provinces, 62% of their oil and absolutely 100% of their gas needs, natural gas. You all appreciate the Great Lakes. Alberta sits on a bed, a Great Lake bed of natural gas. So much natural gas, we could power every home in Canada for half the cost. If we utilize that right across Canada, it would lower energy costs for every Canadian and lower the footprint on fossil fuels, because they're not going anywhere. They're not. This is the disgusting part. Now, Joe Biden, right on White House, when you go on White House in the USA, you can look at his itinerary. This month is the month for the UNSCP5 to hand over presidency. We just watched Russia have it. Who has it now? Saudi Arabia. Guess who's got a spring meeting planned for Saudi Arabia, increasing oil imports to the United States, where the USA will sell to Eastern Canada. We're moving up from 60 to now 62% of Eastern Canada's energy needs are going to be met. That increase are going to be met by Saudi Arabia. We talk about lunatic. What's lunatic? Lunatic is when you purposefully destroy your economic potential, when you attack energy, you push the people into energy poverty. We have the third largest reserves in the world, but yet for 5 straight decades, time and time again, the economic benefits, the increase in primary sector goes explosively way up. But yet, Eastern Canada wants none of it. The Laurentian elite say, no, we want the citizens to pay exorbitant amounts on their energy. To make sure we're going to tax all that product from Alberta so that Alberta can't grow. We're going to ban Alberta, ban them entirely from the east and west coast. We're going to make sure they can never leave Canada. You can never export. You can never enter into the world market where it just goes up, up, up. Canadians, you have a corrupt Prime Minister now. You had a corrupt Prime Minister, Stephen Harper. In fact, they're all corrupt. 5 straight decades since Alberta's massive discoveries, massive mining efforts, Alberta's been reduced to only one real customer, and that's the United States. And because of that, because of the monopoly, Canada, with its third largest reserves, holds absolutely no ability to provide energy independence for all Canadians. Donald Trump ramped up production. He's at maximum. USA has gone as far as they can go. Alberta is locked down. Pipeline cancelled, at least to the States, which wouldn't have helped us much. It would have increased exports, but at what cost? You see what happens with the differential. And in fact, at points right now, we have to pay to ship our oil. We have to pay people to take it. Imagine an energy east and west, but the greed and the need of the politicians, the NWO deals they've made around the world, are to keep Canadians slaved. Never to have any kind of real economics, because real economics means Alberta could grow beyond all measure, could become the biggest province in Canada. That's been a reality for 5 straight decades. But nobody wants it. In fact, Canada forces Alberta to borrow and borrow and borrow, just like Venezuela and many, many others. They're printing money at an incredible rate, as did Venezuela. Has nothing to do with your governing system, except for the fact of pure autocrats deciding for Canadian citizens how the economy should run. Completely absent of reality, completely against what's best for the people of Canada. You don't import products you say are damaging the environment from all over the world with dismal human rights records. Now, Canada is a bullshitter. Canada has atrocious human rights records, especially with the First People. In fact, all those products they enjoy come directly out of the First People's ceded and unceded lands. That's reality. The government steals it, fills the politicians' back pockets, while you all get handed the unbelievable tax bills. They're not changing the environment. Human beings cannot change climate change. The world will always change. Climate will always change. We're a snowball ripping around a vast space in a solar system, and yet a center of gravity in our galactic center. Unbelievable distances, not even fathomable by the human mind. It's amazing that Earth even exists. I believe in environmentalism. I believe in all that. But at what expense? At what slavery, destitution, and all the rest of it? The world will cool. The world will heat up. The reality is, over the long haul, Earth is cooling. Eventually, we will go out into the night, as most experts agree, a frozen globe in space. That's what the whole universe will become. But yet, experts say, oh, we can change all this, we can change that, we can raise the ocean or lower the ocean. All we have to do is tax the hell out of the people, convince them that that's the way to go, so that we can slave them. Saudi Arabia, everybody. Saudi Arabia, the crown prince. A total dictatorship, exactly a crown system, the one I talk about all the time. The customary law of Canada. The ruling power of what is Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Trudeau is going to destroy all forms of primary sector economics. You, the people, will be borrowed against to pay for those imports. That's not a plus in the economics department. Not when the resources are here at home. Again, I'm going to talk about Russia as everybody slams Russia. Russia doesn't have the debt. They are very, very self-reliant. They've been working at it for many straight years to get out of an NWO, which is illegal in the UN. Deathly illegal. The expansion of NATO into Europe, NATO doesn't belong there. USA can never be world police no matter how much they want to. Again, if anybody wants to know, look at one record and one record only. The last time the P5, all five came together to ratify something was the pandemic and vaccine rollouts. Look how many vaccines China rolled out. Look at their sphere of influence in the Asian Pacific, including Australia, folks. Look at Russia, its sphere of influence, all the vaccines it rolled out to how many nations. Then look at USA. Sure, USA number one, but look at Russia combined. And you think USA is going to muscle its way in under Joe Biden? He's going to muscle his way into world dominance. Not going to happen. Russia will never, ever back down. Proliferation for the big powers, not going to happen. It was a con job for the rest of us. And of course, Canada, the first one to run to it. Oh yeah, we're not going to use any of our more than ample supply of enriched uranium. Everybody, you want to talk energy independence? This is a fact. Ontario runs on unenriched uranium. They have to import. The vast amount of uranium found in Canada, the number one source in the entire world, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Northwest Territories, an impact billions of years ago that left a huge mine of naturally raw 20% uranium right in the earth. We're not allowed to use it. We're not allowed to touch it. It can only be exported to the P5 countries. Only 7 nations, 2 with the deal with the UNSC P5, are allowed to process it. Not you, not at home. We could power the entirety of Canada very cheap. 30, 60 years without ever changing a nuclear rod. People say, oh, what about the nuclear storage? You do it already, unenriched or not. No matter the cost of the fuel you use now, that has to be subsidized. People talk about energy independence for Ontario. That's a joke. It's called centralization. All of Canada puts its money in the centre pot, and the federal government doles out a few bucks for this group, that group, and then keeps a vast majority in the centre and cuts a vast share for Quebec, the Atlantic Canada. Doing that keeps the Laurentians in power forever and a day. To commit human rights atrocities comparable to Saudi Arabia and many other grievous human rights violators around the world. Canada's never on that stage. Well, not until last year for the first time in Canadians' history. You can't get a seat on the Security Council. No one will vote you through. The vote becomes less and less every time a new Prime Minister goes at it. We've never not been on the UNSC, not ever in Canada's history until Stephen Harper, and we're not going back. Joe Biden continues to make dirty deals with Justin Trudeau. Trudeau pays him off, takes a few bucks in his back pocket. Harper did before him. Look at all the Saudi Arabia deals from Stephen Harper at absolutely all kinds of expense to you, the people. In your soul, the soul of a nation which isn't represented in any constitution because it was the soul of Stephen Harper and his ministry. It's now Justin Trudeau's soul and his ministry. You don't think for yourself. You're not able to develop your businesses to the potential you should be able to because Canada decides if you're allowed to operate in that manner. They will pull the rug from you all the time. The further out west you live, the worse it is to get into business, especially in the primary sector. Because if you go into the primary sector and you start increasing GDP, the government comes along and gives you a knockout punch. Because it's all about Eastern Canada, forever and a day, whether it makes economic sense or not. It doesn't matter to what expense Canadians receive that tremendous bill in the mail. As now the Bank of Canada, again nailed by the chartered banks, BMO comes forward once again to slam the Bank of Canada on interest rates. Why are you following a policy that makes absolutely no financial or economic sense in Canada? The housing crisis clearly created by the Bank of Canada, when you know, anyone with economics or a financial background knows, if inflation overtakes interest rates, those who invest and borrow against in specific markets like housing know that they're going to make a windfall amount of money in the short term. It's a great way to make cash. People ask me, what do you invest in? Look at what foreigners invested in Canada. We got raped. The housing crisis is a direct result of Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau. Conservative liberal? No such thing. Social conservative, social liberalism. Divide and conquer. That's what Canadians institutionalized vote for. What feels good at the day. The reality is, lots of people are going to be going tits up this year. And you'll have a savior, because you always need a God to come forward. Because you can't believe in a higher power, it has to be a human being, a God over you. That's what Canadians believe in a whopping majority. They can lie to themselves, go to church and say, no, it's not true, but they're the first ones to turn around and, oh, this is the way of God. God has delivered. Oh, thank you for saving us. Because that's what you've been bred into. That's what you're taught in school each and every day of your life. The world as you know it is a lie. A social studies lie, crafted in every province and territory by the Crown. You're very limited on what you learn. You're never taught any kind of civics whatsoever. Any form of nationalism is wiped out. It's post-national state. You're taught Indian words and to name streets you occupy as Indian names. Places like Edmonton where they change it all over Edmonton. Why? Because there's a 49th nation that has rights to Edmonton, specifically in the River Valley going out west all along the river. Removed from them, never settled in apparently ceded land. These are the kind of secrets that exist all over Canada, worst being Cascadia and Caledonia. So you can go out to BC or you can go out to Ontario. Those are the two worst. Quebec is a disgusting, most horrific example of what Canada is. If you don't believe me, go to Parliament of Quebec. Go around, look at the face and the back of the Parliament. Look at the savage Indian in the ground, and then all the serfs around, commanded by the government, church, under state, clearly, because God and the angels give the swords of justice to your military, the politicians grant, because they're gods, entrusted by God, and the church works for them. That is Canada. That's always been Canada. We are getting wiped out. Just like Venezuela. There's no reason to be importing any oil or any natural gas or any other energy needs in Canada. And if environmentalism is such an impact, even though so many countries, vaster amounts of populations than Canada, Canada is a piece of sand in a bucket of people who are carbon imprinting the world at a higher rate than ever before. Every year it goes up, up, up. This whole 2050 is a con job. It is about turning Canada into a Venezuela, and I hate to say this, folks. Your politicians for more than 5 decades have been in league with it. They want Canada exploited for everything it's worth so that they can all get rich and taken care of for the rest of their lives. All their children. There's no shortage of world billionaires to come along and say, we're going to take care of you. And there are no laws in Canada. Nothing in the Constitution that says that the politicians who are crown, you've got a majesty here. You run down Saudi Arabia, you are a Saudi Arabia. You're run by a Saudi Arabia crown prince named Justin Trudeau. It was Stephen Harper before him, and every politician since 52. They picked up and stole the crown when King George VI died. They never gave it up. They never amended the Constitution, and we go forward. We go forward, and all the citizens go, oh, this country's bad, that country's bad. Meanwhile, you're raping, murdering Indian children, raping women disappearing at alarming rates. The vast amount of people in prison today are First Peoples. Vast amount, 90%. They are represented in a small, minute amount of population in Canada. Very small minority, but the inverse is true of how much prison time those people do. You find the same thing for African Americans. Almost as bad, but not as bad as the First People of Canada. Because at least the population of African Americans in Canada is much more substantial. It's pathetic, the ignorance and sheer unbelievable narrative Canadians go with day after day with their head in the sand. And now Justin Trudeau is going to be importing, no, don't worry, telling the news can write stories, oh no, we canceled Alberta Pipeline, we won't do energies, won't do energy out to the Northern Gateway, we just won't do any of it, we're going to lock Alberta down and import from tremendously terrible countries, boat the stuff across the sea in big ships when you could just pipeline it and save the wasted fuel expense of those mighty tankers and the risk to the oceans. A safe pipeline in the ground. People say, oh, no, they're not safe. But when you look at vessels in the sea versus pipeline, guess who has the worst track record? Vessels in the sea. Oh, it's no big deal though. We've got to stick with the crown. At the end of the day, it's important that the crown, gods, men who are gods, women who are gods, rule over you. You're savage human beings. We need to idolize human beings. Put them in God roles. Idols. How any religion organized in Canada can stomach this shows the hypocrisy, the phony baloney, and it's why I left the Catholic Church. Worst abusers, worst of the worst, talk God all day long, but are the first to support the government, work for the government, complete murderous genocidal acts. Like every other organized religion, the amount of individual liars in Canada created, institutionalized. We sit at about 80%. 80% of people will rather lie, knowingly follow the lie, than ever address it because, hey, I can't do that. Just believe in my God, my politician. I'll go to church on Sunday, pray to God, even though I know, regardless of which organized religion, I never put false idols. Most of the organized religions, it is the fundamental law of the supreme God you're supposed to believe in tells you don't do that. But yet you govern like that. And you look for a savior, your next Jesus, your next Muhammad. It goes on and on and on. Even the Jews, it's all Old Testament, folks. They've all got the 10 Commandments. It's all hypocrisy. It's all a lie. People love to lie to themselves. And now Joe Biden going to Saudi Arabia to go harvest more oil because he canceled the Alberta pipeline. And everyone just sits there, like, geez, scratching. Oh, well, let's continue on. March forward. Murder the women. Keep them down under your boots. It's a joke. This country's a joke. America's a joke right now under Joe Biden, but I promise you all, there is not going to be any war with Russia. You're watching the Twitter spaces lose interest. The vast amount of Ukrainian refugees not happening. It's all a televised lie. It's in a few thousand, not the millions. There's 52 million people in Ukraine. Where's the vast amount of refugees? How come they don't want to leave? How come they don't want to leave? How come it's only thousands? Well, of course, you'll find those people were on immigration lists anyway. Wanted to come out west. Maybe they got family, friends. Now they get to jump borders easily. Canada does this routinely all the time. They did it for Hong Kong going back to China. Everybody, do you know where the opioid crisis comes from? If you don't know, read the Opium Wars 1 and 2. The royal family, Queen Elizabeth II, her grandmother, Victoria, that's where the Opium Wars come from. You ever want to learn something? Talk to India. As the East India Trading Company imposed by the United Kingdom under Edward VII that all of you celebrate in Toronto. You hang on the statue, you hug the horse. Beautiful King Edward, we're having a rally, a protest. King Edward, Emperor of India. Do you know that every East Indian that sees that statue in Canada, which is a big community, spits on it? That is a slap in the face to every India patron who came to Canada. And they go, what in the fuck? And yet every Canadian goes there, hangs on the statue. Oh, I don't know how many speeches I've gave in front of that statue every time I've gone to Queen's Park. Emperor Edward VII, Emperor of India, East India Trading Company, where they forced the Indians to grow fields of opium poppies so that they could poison the Chinese people. And when China fought back, they lost against the superiority of the British Navy. They pounded China's coastal cities to the ground and said, we will sell these narcotics in your country. We will murder your people, and there's nothing you can do about it until China got stronger. That went on for many, many decades. In fact, the royal family created all our great opium drugs, the modern drugs of our time. China tried to stop it a long time ago, and they got the shit kicked out of them, and their people got drugged and poisoned. Can you imagine having a war so that USA, the government of USA, for example, could sell opium, heroin, all kinds of drugs to Canadians on the street? Can you imagine the street dealer being the American government? That's truth, folks. Anyone can look this up. You will not find in history. You will wear the poppy proudly. Only the Commonwealth does that. Why? World War I, folks. USA abolished it in the 50s. No poppies. That is sick, deranged, and wrong. Canadians have no clue. 90% of you do it anyway. Who cares about the Chinese? Who cares about what that symbol represents? That oppressive symbol. Who cares? It's all about the crown. Racism, number one in all of Canada, belongs to the first class. There are many brown, red, yellow, black individuals coming from the Commonwealth who swear that oath, who get brought right into it. So then they say, oh, equality, diversity of government, to oppress and be extremely racist to all the third-class citizens, regardless of their color, including all the whites. If you haven't sworn the oath and you're not in the government, you're no good for nothing. Just read your Constitution. You exist to serve the master. That's who you all are. I'm one too. This is Canada. This is reality. We're going to be increasing our imports from Saudi Arabia to meet the challenges of today. Because why use our products in Canada? We got to do social liberalism and social conservatism. We have to show the world that we're not going to do and participate in climate destruction. Instead, we're going to do race wars, extreme racism, extreme poverty, energy poverty, and destroy our people in every future they could have from every day forward. Because what kind of country has interprovincial trade? Only every other federalism in the world. Only every other federalism in the world. What does that tell you about Canada? We're no real federalism. We don't even have provincial constitutions. Canada never went past 1867. Everything is the king, the ruling elected king's privy. And they never, ever, ever want the people to have any independence, any power, any real form of federalism. It's all a centralized, controlled state. The illusion of democracy, the illusion of federalism. That's what Canada is. And any one of the second class, meaning your mercantile class, business owners, if you don't play ball with the government first class 100%, you become third class. They will pull the rug right from under your business. We all saw it in the pandemic. It's not the only time. For Albertans, I've had 3 businesses in my life. I'm no slouch, great successes, and then the rug pulled out from under you just like that. There is no interprovincial trade, there's only north and south. Every province, 90% of what you trade goes north and it goes south. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. Because we're not any kind of real functioning federalist country. It's a lie. Highly centralized, all crown powered, the crown customary law in the back seat. Your privy councils, your premiers, all your crown positions, lieutenant governors of all said regions in Canada, the governor general, it goes on and on. The Senate is entirely appointed, sworn to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, top of the food chain, controls all of it, including your courts. We are no democracy. People saying fighting for democracy in Ukraine. That's a total lie. Ukraine is 100% centralized. No federalism, none whatsoever. Again, the Minsk agreements called for that federalism. A federalism the Soviet Union even enjoyed. It's all a lie, folks. You're participating in a massive lie. There's no giant influx of millions of Ukrainians running for their lives. They're staying put because they'd rather be Russian. Oh, at least in that half of Ukraine. Those fleeing Kiev, well, I guess you're surrounded as Russia frees the entire East, the former Soviet. Majority Russian-speaking population. Majority Russian Orthodox. A culture unto itself. All Ukraine had to do, Zelensky, those saying, oh, Zelensky's Jewish, he couldn't possibly be racist. Really? Because we got some pretty racist first-class citizens. It's called autocracy, folks. And those in the power sphere and the centralized government, doesn't matter. Jewish, black, red, yellow, goes on and on and on. Once they have the power, they slave everybody else. They don't care about their own people. Nazism was one version of the crown called Germany. Canada is fully implemented in the same build today as Germany was pre-1945. It's a crown design. The colonial 7 powers in the world who participated. All just like Nazi Germany, created long before Nazi Germany. In fact, that Germany came much after. France was the Third Republic. Germany called itself the Third Reich. Translation, Third Republic. They were copying France, folks. Hello. Built and much older. A system very successful. A colonial system very, very successful. The same system Canada has been running since 1867. Absolutely under their own since 1952. One of only 3 countries in the world. Full scale design like Nazi Germany. All 3 of them before Nazi Germany. Canada being the oldest. This is historical, real fact. Missed by all the population because it's not taught to you in school. It's forbidden fruit. You're going to get ostracized in society when you start telling the truth. There is no academic to come forward to dispute what I say. You notice how fact-checking never happens? But hate speech. Oh, he called people idiots. That's hate speech. Justin Trudeau's going to have you in prison. You're going to be locked away. Stephen Harper would do it too. All of these masters over you, these politicians, are doing this to you. They're filling their back pocket. NDP, Conservative, Liberal, Bloc, Green, PPC. The list goes on and on and on because not one of them wants you to have any rules of governance, how to govern, or any kind of accountability. None whatsoever. No codified constitutions empowering you, the people. Protections for you, the people. So you don't have to worry about knowing everything. You don't have to go on a lifelong journey like I had to. Traveling the world. I've spent now coming on already, blink, time. This summer will be 6 years of devoting full time to world education. Nothing I was ever provided to in Canada. There isn't even an institution that will teach it. Even Canadians and Canadian institutions have to go into plenaries from other hosted countries. A big one being the United States, another one UK. Africa's even got better institutions. The African Union of 52 nations have some tremendously high enriched universities. India's got massive, awesome universities. I have an anti-colonial master who's the dean of a high-class university. He's joined on with me. Another world expert. And he is anti-colonialism. He narrates it just like I do. And he is a dean because India got independence. They certainly hate King Edward VII being placed in Queen's Park, Toronto. They find Canada very disgusting. It's why Canada doesn't trade with India. I'm sorry, Canadians. The only Indians that come here are anti-independent India. They're in the Commonwealth too. They haven't freed themselves entirely. The Crown still persists. Governor General and Lieutenant Governors still exist in India. They're working at it. They're fighting hard. They're trying to get their independent judiciary. They don't have it. They have King's Court, just like Canada. So much for independence. Everybody, we got to watch. Barbados. Susan, who was a lawyer, went through it. Still in the Commonwealth. We're going to see the new constitution. I will get that first. I'll deliver it. We have a path forward, PPC, the party of the PCC, Party of the Canadian Constitutionalists. We will deliver that for all Canadians. That education in every minority language for every citizen over the 18, as well as all First Nations in every First People's language. They're all logged in the States. I have them all, even the ones that no longer exist in Canada, should any individual come in that narrative. They will get it. I have all of them. A lot of work coming on 6 years and still fighting just to get a narrative published, which means getting a party. It's so easy for Canadians to get misled, get into bullshit. There's a truth here, but they try to add on all the layers, all by the crown. It's not by accident. It's developed. I've been in real sittings with world billionaires. I was invited back and never participated. It's been quiet since. I slammed a lot of billionaires at you guys live as a third-class citizen, sitting in my truck out in Oshawa, sitting in my truck. And I sat there and went toe-to-toe with many billionaires you know. And I had one go right off the rails. It would blow you all away. Supposed left leader, supposed non-racist. You should have heard what she had to say about Africans and what they deserve and how they're filthy animals. That entitled first class from the United Kingdom throughout the Commonwealth exists, is vibrant, and very, very much alive today. They still go around the world in their superiority. These are white people of the first class, not you, the white folks of the country. You're underneath the boots of them. You're no better than the shit, whether it's black, red, yellow, white, does not matter. Brown, does not matter. India's fully aware of this. Africa's fully aware of this. It is Canada and places like Australia, New Zealand, who won't get out from under it. They all abuse their First Peoples beyond any measure of any human rights atrocity today. We do this. We steal resources, and when we don't want to upset the balance of power for that crown, we import by large measure any needs for the people by borrowing against those lands. Soon, all of Canada, given another 100 years, will belong to foreign powers. It will be the post-national state. Trudeau and his NWO warriors want that. They want to walk away from Canada after extinguishing all the First People so there's no record or trace. They're doing it every day. Colonialism alive, vibrant, and well. Look at immigration. Look at it during the pandemic. Look at how they're going to keep multiplying it beyond any normalcy, beyond any other country in the world. What does that tell you, folks? What is the plan? It's to destroy the people, to make fat cats fatter, rich people richer, and destroy you. Because it's a pyramid scheme. And on top you have your crown. That's the truth. There's all kinds of layers of crown, and then there's the shit at the bottom, which is all of you. That's my video. Share, share, share. Breaking, powerful, important. Get it out. Thanks. Bye now.